An intense scene outside CNN's New York offices today. The bomb's intended target, former CIA director and CNN contributor John Brennan. Bombs were also sent today to Barack Obama's address in Washington, Bill and Hillary Clinton's home in New York State. One sent to former Attorney General Eric Holder was redirected to the Florida office of Deborah Wasserman Schultz, whose name was on all of the packages. And the FBI confirming tonight 2 packages were sent to Democratic Representative Maxine Waters. One reportedly intercepted in Maryland, the other found in Los Angeles. All of this comes just 2 days after a bomb was found at the home of billionaire George Soros in suburban New York. Now, no bombs have gone off, but as Ellen Morrow tells us, they have created a great deal of chaos.
We're going to jump in. There's a fire alarm here.
You might have heard it in the background. We're going to find out what the latest is
we'll be right back.
at CNN. We're going to be right back.
But CNN's New York anchors were not right back. They were forced to report on the crude explosive device from the sidewalk.
Additionally, there was an envelope containing white powder that was discovered as part of that original packaging.
Later, Hillary Clinton spoke about the device addressed to her.
It is a troubling time, isn't it? And it's a time of deep divisions, and we have to do everything we can to bring our country together.
All the targets are fierce critics of Donald Trump and favorite punching bags for the president.
But if you want the fake news to finally investigate Hillary Clinton, we'll just have...
This was just 2 days ago, Trump prompting this familiar chant from the crowd.
Yeah.
Despite his usual rhetoric, this was Trump's message today.
In these times, we have to unify. We have to come together and send one very clear, strong, unmistakable message that acts or threats of political violence of any kind have no place in the United States of America.
Still, there were several warnings about the divisive political climate in the United States.
It's a time when people are feeling a lot of hatred in the air. And incidents like this exacerbate that pain and exacerbate that fear.
There's been a lot of this going around lately. But we've got to tone down the rhetoric, both sides. Got to see people as opponents but not enemies.
And another sign of the divisive climate came today when some right-wing commentators accused the Democrats of staging a setup of this all being some kind of hoax to change the narrative with the midterm elections less than 2 weeks away.
And Ellen, Donald Trump continued with a rally planned for tonight. What happened there?
Well, before President Trump even arrived, Ian, the crowd was chanting, "Lock her up." But we didn't really see typical Donald Trump tonight. He was somewhat toned down. At one point, he even said, "Do you see how nice I'm behaving tonight?" But he did address what was happening today, albeit in a very interesting way, talking about the need to tone down the rhetoric on both sides, vaguely referencing some of the attacks Democrats make against him. And one usual message we did hear was blame for the media. Have a listen.
The media also has a responsibility to set a civil tone and to stop the endless hostility and constant negative and oftentimes false attacks and stories. Have to do it. Have to do it.
Now, that comment is somewhat ironic given what we're used to hearing from the president himself. We also have a statement from CNN's president, Jeff Zucker, Ian, who said earlier today there is a total and complete lack of understanding at the White House about the seriousness of their continued attacks on the media. The president and especially the White House press secretary should understand their words matter. So much more to come in terms of reaction on this story, Ian.
All right, Ellen, thank you.
You're welcome.
The packages that were found earlier today are being analyzed by the FBI at their Virginia lab tonight. Let's take a closer look at the similarities among these packages. All 6 mailed in manila envelopes with a bubble wrap interior. The FBI confirmed each one had a total of 6 stamps. They're known as forever stamps, meaning you can use them even if the postage rates change. They all had printed address labels. All 6 packages had the same return address, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the name of a Florida congresswoman, though the name is misspelled. Well, let's talk about what an investigation might be looking like right now. We're going to bring in Gil Torres, a former FBI special agent. He worked on the Oklahoma City bombing and the Waco investigations, and he is a hostage negotiator. And so, Gil, one of the things you said investigators likely will be looking at is where these packages were sent.
Well, I think for the investigators, it's important to note the fact that they were all delivered on the same day, pretty much, and that they were generally in the same geographical area of the country. So I believe that makes a difference as to where they start looking, and that it'll probably give them at least a hint of information in the sense that the perpetrator may be from the same region.
All of us, of course, immediately noted the similarity among the targets in terms of their politics, prominent Democrats. And so a lot of people are assuming that is the motive, but you would point out, don't necessarily make assumptions.
Well, I think the investigators don't necessarily key on that. This could be a situation where it was done for that reason, to mask maybe another motive, but it is somewhat premature without getting a little further along in this investigation to really pinpoint what the true motive is here.
We have about 30 seconds left, but I'm curious about the kind of material that investigators already have. All of these packages, I wonder if that is a bit of a treasure trove of material for police to go through.
I think so. I think for the forensics people, for the forensic side of the investigation, that certainly will be a treasure trove. They have plenty of material to go through. They will, in essence, reverse engineer to figure out how it was built, and also what they can find. Maybe hair samples, maybe a fingerprint, maybe sweat. I don't know. Anything that they can get their hands on to move this investigation along.
All right, Gil Torres in Fort Worth, Texas tonight. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Now, Barack Obama and the Clintons have long been subjected to criticism and conspiracy theories, but some of the people on this list have not, at least not to this degree. And though they do have something in common, all have been fierce critics of Donald Trump. All have been denounced by Trump. Here's a closer look at the others targeted today and what some might hold against them. As Obama's Attorney General, Eric Holder was criticized by the right for being soft on political intimidation by the new Black Panther Party during the 2008 election. And many conservatives were incensed when he said this a couple of weeks ago.
But Michelle says that, when they go low, we go high. No. When they go low, we kick them.
Former CIA Director John Brennan has made enemies in and out of the White House for his scathing critiques of the president, calling Trump a venal, corrupt liar who will end up in the dustbin of history.
He's drunk on power. He really is.
Democratic Congresswoman Maxine Waters has drawn ire for calling on her supporters to publicly harass members of the Trump administration, earning accusations of trying to instigate political violence.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd.
And then there's billionaire George Soros. The reclusive liberal philanthropist has been the subject of conspiracy theories for years, from funding left-wing extremists in the United States and Europe to working toward a one-world government run by oligarchs. More recent conspiracy theories include paying people to undermine Brett Kavanaugh's Supreme Court appointment and bringing the migrant caravan into the U.S. So is there something politically significant about those who have been targeted? We do know that extreme views seem to be on the rise in the United States on both the left and the right, and we wanted to talk to David Frum about this, senior editor at The Atlantic, former speechwriter for George W. Bush, and he's in Montreal this evening. David, we don't know the motive behind this, but after seeing the nature of the packages and who they were sent to, what's your initial reaction?
First, just one of tremendous relief, how fortunate it is that no one was actually hurt. These kinds of mass bombing campaigns have been seen before. We think of the Unabomber, and there have been casualties. Thus far, thank God, no one is hurt. So that's not good news, but it's a relief.
And beyond that sense of relief?
We have seen the President of the United States today deplore this kind of attack, which is normal behavior from the President of the United States and a welcome change from a long career of inciting violence. The people who have received these bombs have all been very specifically targeted by the President for very personal criticism. Not just the political opponents, but private citizens like George Soros, and not just national figures like the Clinton family, but members of the House of Representatives who the President has targeted for pretty racialized abuse, like Maxine Waters in the House of Representatives.
So the comments from the President earlier today during the afternoon were the kind of comments you'd hope a president would make in the middle of a crisis, but now what? What do you hope to hear from Trump now?
Well, I don't hope to hear from them because that would make me a fool to expect anything appropriate from him. I mean, what he did today was he phoned in the bare minimum of what would be said at a moment like this. When you think of the kind of mood of national unity that past presidents, Republicans and Democrats have found, it's not difficult to deplore wanton attacks on political figures. But President Trump will disappoint. I have no doubt about that.
All right, David, thank you.
Thank you.